I doubt social media was even as it was pervasive in the fitness industry when you started bodybuilding. Is that safe to say?
Bodybuilding was so much better without social media.
Okay. All right. I'm going to hold you to task on that, because better in what? I mean, better in the sense of the purity of the sport, no doubt.
I just was more excited about it, man. And maybe because when you're young, you are a fan of what you're about to do. And then once you kind of move up in what you loved, it becomes different, like a job. But I can say, dude, I started in 2000. I stopped racing June 2004, immediately started bodybuilding and competed in November 2005. And the only people who knew you were competing were at your gym. And you didn't know who you were competing against, but it was never about taking pictures of yourself. And it was just like train, get there at 5 a.m. before school, get my cardio in, train, do this. I mean, I drove 2.5 hours every Saturday to see my coach in New York and then drove all the way back for the entire prep. And that's just how it was. And it was just exciting because it was more of like that individual sport where you go and you do your thing in the darkness, and then you come out and you compete. And then it became like, now it's like a clown show with everything that I see. I mean, no offense to people today, that's all you guys know, but I can't identify with it, man. I just can't identify with everything. It's just like, I don't know how anybody can train fully focused and hard when you're worrying about camera angles every set. Like, how do you do that?
Yeah. What gets me is, I started training. The idea, I didn't even have a cell phone when I started training. I mean, I grew up poor, so like, it's not like I started training a long time ago. It was just like I was broken, couldn't afford a cell phone. But it's like the idea of cameras, Instagram, all that. What gets me now as someone who, I've never been a competitive bodybuilder, so I put myself at a certain arm's length because there's so much to bodybuilding and the prep that I've just never fully immersed myself in. Right? Got into the powerlifting world. I sat on the sidelines, but what gets me is the culture vultures behind the marketability of the lone wolf bodybuilding mentality as like an at scale cheap ass brand off of Alibaba. Like the athleisure branding around that whole mentality of like, oh no, I'm different than you. It's like, no, look, motherfucker, like you have a hashtag, like you're the same. But it kills me to know that a time when that was the culture, not because it was like a signal to another bodybuilder wearing your fucking dumb whatever brand shirt on the other side of the gym. It was like, the old nodding of the head of the bodybuilder. Like this, I learned this at a young age from bodybuilders. That like the eyebrows up were like you were okay, and the eyebrows down was like leave me the fuck alone. Like if I was in another gym with another big guy when I was younger, and if I got one of these, that was like, all right, hey, what's up? Like we're good. If I got one of these, like head down, I was like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. Yeah. Read the room. Yeah. And it's tough now because the room is so edited and curated and things like that. But it's interesting for you being in the position you're in, right? Like a person of, I can't even use the word influence because it has such a negative connotation. But like you are in a space that is so widely unregulated, like your academic background, which we haven't touched on yet, brings a level-headedness to just an absolute big top circus tent. So it's odd for you, or it's odd for me to hear you go like, well, bodybuilding was better before because bodybuilding wasn't really a thing. Like you would have needed another job. If bodybuilding isn't what it was today, both of you and I probably won't be sitting here talking and working in our living rooms. So how do you draw a line between like, okay, bodybuilding as the activity of going in and the pursuit of going in and getting better, but the double edge of that sword is like, we don't have jobs. Well, we have jobs, but it's, it's a different, how do you reconcile that?
I guess I can just say, in as far as marketability and monetary, the monetary ability for you to make money through social media and fitness is obviously way better now. And I'm not upset about that in that aspect at all. I'm just saying, as a personal competitor, when I was competing, I found it more enjoyable when like when I turned pro, I didn't have social media yet. And I remember people being, oh, do you know who so-and-so is? So I'm like, I don't know who you're talking about. Like, it was never a concern of mine. I don't know who that is. Oh, you don't? Oh, check them up. I'm like, on what? They're like, on Facebook. I'm like, I don't have Facebook. I don't have any of that crap. I didn't have it until after 2013. And so I just enjoyed it. I think once it, maybe because partially it's me, I'm old school. I just don't like it. I don't like having to film or take pictures. It's just not me. So maybe that's just it. But like after that, when it was a requirement to like film, do pictures, postings for Animal, it became less enjoyable than it was for me in the beginning.
So what gets me is I was watching the Olympia this year, and I usually try and tune in every year and see who's competitive, especially as you get to know a lot of the guys competing. And it kind of dawned on me quickly, like in the past, in various circumstances in my life, have had to watch actual pageants like Miss Universe or Miss World, Miss whatever, a nation. Story for another time. However, it started to dawn on me that the pageant, the superimposition of social media and bodybuilding is where the actual pageantry happens. So I remember hearing a term back in the day about, oh, he's a good ambassador for the sport. I remember hearing that for the first time and thought, oh, fuck. Oh no, this is bad. Because the ambassador of the sport, basically, like the way I look at it now, and it's so, I feel bad because you probably know what I'm talking about. There's a handful of bodybuilders that do this. If you're vying in contention for top spots, and it's a coin flip, dude. Like you look at some of these guys, like how the fuck is anyone going to decide? They're all in crazy shape. They're all coming in crazy big, crazy lean, symmetrical. Like I start to see the Miss America, like, you know, or the question of, you know, what would you do if you were crowned Miss America? I'd be like, world peace. And it's like, well, you're a 22-year-old girl. Like, what the fuck do you know about world peace? I start to see that aspect come through in bodybuilders' social media. It's like, oh, I need to be a good ambassador for the sport. So like and I, not to be derogatory, but from, you know, documenting you giving out turkeys at Thanksgiving to like taking pictures of your family at church, I really start to worry about the authenticity of bodybuilders because of the pageantry aspect that plays out on social media. Oh, we can't have him. He's a terrible ambassador for the sport. It's like, what the fuck are you talking about? Old school bodybuilding, who look better?
Bro, I know. I'm with you. You know, the authenticity of question is social media drives that. I mean, I know, you know, and I know a lot of people in person who are not the same people on the internet. And then I've had people come up to me like, oh, bro, you know so-and-so? That dude's such a good dude. In my head, I'm like, no, he's not. That dude's like a straight piece of shit. Like piece of shit to his core. In my head, that's what I'm thinking. I'm like, bro, you have no idea. And you're idolizing this person. You know, it's that. I know exactly what you're talking about in that regard. I mean, dude, Derek's number one right now, bro. Remember, we're in the road trip eating like omelets and whatever, you know?
Oh my God. I was just with him a couple weeks ago. It's just, to me, I don't want to say the product, and I want to get your opinion on this. Obviously, Arnold had some contentious statements over the years about the state of bodybuilding, right? Was a big fan, outwardly facing, of Cedric McMillan's physique, rest in peace. And is the modern day product of a bodybuilder getting better or worse, in your opinion?
I don't know, because I feel like there was an era. I mean, I love the era of the 90s physiques, just the way they looked. But like, you also look at the physiques, they had smaller waists, they were much lighter on stage, and now they're getting bigger and bigger and bigger. I do feel that bodybuilding got a little out of control, and I do feel like it's coming back to a better state. My personal favorite is still the 90s, but I do feel like it's getting better than it was, where it got kind of out of control for a little bit, you know?
Now, I've had this theory, because back in the early days, they used to do tall and short, right? Then we introduced category after category after category after category. And with the rise of classic physique, do you ever see it, or do you ever foresee it going just to one show again? Like Bumstead versus Quinton in a show?
No, because of money.
Ruins everything.
You know, if the money wasn't there, I think it might be. But now, because money, sponsorship, you want to attract as many people as you can. You're trying to contour to the greatest number of people. So you got to have all these categories. Obviously, as you know, we have wellness now. We have women's physique. We have women's bodybuilding, women's figure, women's bikini. So we have to have a division for everybody. And I just think that overall, it's never going to go down to one show. I mean, dude, nationals, some of these national shows will take like 5 days.
Yeah,
You know,
Pittsburgh. Nuts.
because it's nuts. So if there was no money, I think it would be condensed. But because of the money, it's going to only get bigger.